My hands shook a little as I stood outside the VIP lounge. Clubs this expensive were built with solid soundproofing, yet I could still hear faint singing and laughter through the door. The voices were muffled, but I could clearly pick out my wife's among them. I still couldn't believe I had ended up here. Without the photos and FaceTime recording my assistant sent me, I never would have believed Sienna Whitlock, the woman I loved, could betray me. "Sir, may I help you?" a waiter asked politely. I looked at him coldly. "Private room 1, correct? My wife is inside." He froze, probably feeling the chill in my voice. After looking me over, he swallowed and said, "I'm sorry, sir, but the guests asked not to be disturbed." I took a photo from my pocket. It showed Sienna's face, one I knew better than my own. "She's my wife," I said. "Open the door, please." The waiter studied the picture, then glanced back at me with an uneasy expression. He paused before quietly saying, "All right, sir. Please wait here." I stood beside the door, shut my eyes, and drew a deep breath. Images from the FaceTime recording flashed through my head. Sienna entering the club with a man on her arm. His name was Adrian Hollowell, the new photography director at her company, Metropolitan Media Group, and supposedly a world-famous photographer. Only 4 hours earlier, Sienna had told me she was having dinner with co-workers. I had planned to surprise her. I reserved a table at her favorite restaurant and intended to pick her up after dinner. Now I realized the surprise was on me, and it was a cruel one. The lock clicked as the waiter swiped his keycard. I slowly pushed the door open and walked inside. The room was dark, lit only by flashing LEDs around the wall screen. The music was painfully loud, but at that moment I couldn't hear anything. My eyes fixed on the two people sitting on the couch. Sienna was pressed against Adrian, wearing the champagne-colored evening dress I'd bought her the year before. His hand rested around her waist, and their faces were inches apart as they whispered and laughed in the dim light. I couldn't move. It felt like every drop of blood in my body had frozen. They didn't notice me until the waiter closed the door behind me. Sienna jumped away from Adrian like she'd been burned. When she looked up and saw me, all the color drained from her face. "Oh, honey," she whispered, her voice shaking. I said nothing. I just stood there and stared at them. Adrian recovered much faster. He rose, adjusted his clothes, and gave me a smug grin. "So you're Editor Whitlock's husband. I've heard a lot about you." Still silent, I pulled out my phone and pointed it toward them. A few taps later, I had captured everything. Sienna finally came to her senses and rushed toward me. "No, honey, please listen. I can explain." I stepped back before she could touch me. "There's nothing to explain. I have the pictures. Soon everyone online will see how perfect you two look together." "Please, it isn't what you think," Sienna begged, tears filling her voice. Adrian only laughed. "Editor Whitlock, we've already been caught. What's left to explain?" He walked over and deliberately wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "We're truly in love. Why should we be ashamed?" A cold laugh escaped me. "Right. True love. Tell me, Director Hollowell, does the woman in your arms also tell you every day that you're the man she loves most?" Sienna fought against his arm, smearing her carefully applied makeup with tears. "No, Adrian, let me go." I turned toward the door. "Wait!" Sienna grabbed me from behind and wrapped her arms tightly around me. "Please, just hear me out. Only this once." I stopped and calmly pulled her hands away. "There's no point. Go home, pack your things, and get out. My lawyer will send you the divorce papers tomorrow." With that, I walked out, ignoring Sienna's desperate cries behind me. Strangely, I felt completely calm. It was late when I got home. I stood in the middle of the living room and looked around. The house we had decorated together with so much care suddenly felt unfamiliar. The half-empty cup of coffee she'd left on the table yesterday was still there. Our matching mugs sat side by side in the cabinet. Our wedding portrait still hung on the wall. Every small detail felt like another knife in my stomach. I went into my study, opened my laptop, and began searching for divorce attorneys. My phone kept ringing. Every call was from Sienna, and I rejected them all. Then one of her messages caught my attention. "Honey, please answer, I can explain." Adrian threatened me. I scoffed and tossed the phone aside. Threatened her? What a pathetic excuse. A few minutes later, I heard a key turn in the front door. I knew it was her. Her footsteps stopped outside the study. "Come in," I said without looking back. Sienna slowly opened the door. I could see her tear-streaked face reflected in my computer screen. "Honey, call me Mr. Mercer," I cut in. "We'll be strangers soon enough." She dropped to her knees behind me with a heavy thud. "Please forgive me. It really isn't what you think. Adrian has something on me." I spun around in my chair and stared down at her. "Something on you? What could possibly force you into his arms?" She lowered her head. "He threatened to reveal Metropolitan Media Group's dirty secrets." "So you offered him your body?" I sneered. "Sienna, do you honestly expect me to believe that?" "I didn't." She looked up desperately. "I swear I never slept with him. Nothing happened." "Enough." I stood, looking down at her. "You know what? Seeing you like this disgusts me. The biggest mistake of my life was being blind enough to marry you." She trembled as tears poured down her face. "Don't say that. I know I was wrong." I pulled a stack of photographs from the drawer and threw them at her feet. "Then explain these." The pictures scattered across the floor. A private investigator had taken them over the last 8 weeks. They showed her eating dinner with Adrian, going to movies with him, and entering and leaving expensive hotels. Sienna stared at the photos and collapsed onto the floor. "What happened?" I asked coldly. "Can't keep pretending anymore?" I looked down at her. "You really outdid yourself, Sienna. I thought you'd at least try to hide your affair. But you didn't even bother." "Nothing happened between us?" she sobbed, clutching her head. I crouched in front of her and studied her tear-covered face. "You know, I keep asking myself what I did wrong. Didn't I love you enough? Didn't I take care of you?" "You were wonderful," she whispered. "This was all my fault." I stood again. "You're right. It was. Now pack your belongings and leave my house. My lawyer will contact you at 10 tomorrow morning so you can sign the papers." "No, please, give me one more chance." She grabbed my leg, but I shook her off hard. "Get out!" Pushing her away seemed to drain the last bit of strength from me. Sienna fell hard, but quickly scrambled back to her feet and reached for me again. I shoved her away, strode into the bedroom, and slammed the door. She immediately started crying and pounding on it. "Honey, please open the door. I know I was wrong." I leaned against the door and slowly slid down until I was sitting on the floor. That was when the tears finally came. 8 years. We had spent 8 full years together. I believed we would grow old, side by side. I never once imagined our marriage would end this way. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the pictures in my gallery. Each one held a happy memory from our life together. Sienna flashing a peace sign while riding on my back during our honeymoon. Her goofy smile while secretly preparing my birthday surprise. The two of us kissing beneath the Christmas tree. Looking at them now, every memory felt painfully ironic. Her crying outside the door slowly grew quieter, but I knew she was still sitting there. I opened the Notes app and began listing terms for the divorce agreement. As I typed, I gave a bitter laugh at my own weakness. Even after everything, part of me still hated the idea of hurting her too badly. But she had betrayed me, and betrayal came with a price. Starting tomorrow, I would make sure she understood exactly what losing me meant. The next morning, my phone woke me. I had no idea when I'd finally fallen asleep, and every part of my body ached. The hallway was silent. When I opened the bedroom door, I found Sienna curled up asleep on the floor beside it. I stepped over her and kept walking. My assistant Marin was calling. "Mr. Mercer," she said, "the attorney is ready. You can come by whenever you'd like." "Okay," I answered shortly. "There's one more thing." Marin hesitated. "The photos from last night. Should I release them?" I glanced back at Sienna, who was still sleeping. "Not yet. Wait for my signal." After ending the call, I went to the bathroom to clean myself up. The mirror showed a worn-out face with bloodshot eyes. Sienna woke a moment later. As soon as she spotted me in the doorway, she hurried toward me. "Honey?" I moved aside before she could hug me. 10 o'clock, Liberty Tower, 23rd floor. My lawyer will be waiting. I don't want a divorce." She grabbed my sleeve. "Please give me one more chance." I looked down at her. "A chance? Why didn't you think about that before you betrayed me?" I know I was wrong. She dropped to her knees. "I'll do anything you want. I'll give you every asset I own. Just don't divorce me." I scoffed. "You think this is about money?" "Sienna, you still don't understand me at all. For 8 years, the only thing I wanted was your heart. Now it belongs to someone else, so there's nothing left to discuss." I turned toward the door. "Wait!" she suddenly shouted. "I'm pregnant." I stopped. "We're having a baby," she said, through tears. "You can't abandon us." I slowly faced her again, my eyes dropping to her still flat stomach. "Whose child is it?" She froze. "Yours, obviously." I laughed. "Are you certain it isn't Adrian Hollowell's?" "No." She shook her head wildly. "I swear it's yours. Adrian and I never did anything." I pulled up the FaceTime recording on my phone and held it in front of her. "Then explain this." The video showed Sienna and Adrian entering an expensive hotel together the previous Wednesday night. According to the timestamp, they stayed inside for 4 hours. She stared at the screen as the color disappeared from her face. "I was there for work." "For 4 hours?" I sneered. "Inside a penthouse suite?" She sank to the floor. "You don't believe me?" "That's right, I don't." I put my phone away. "But it doesn't matter. After the baby is born, a paternity test will settle everything." Then I walked out without looking back. Once I was inside my car, I called Marin. "Find out whether she's visited an OB/GYN recently." Marin called back soon afterward. "Mr. Mercer, there's nothing. She hasn't visited a hospital or clinic in the past 8 weeks." I gave a cold laugh, just as I thought. Another lie. At that moment, a message arrived from Adrian Hollowell. "Mr. Mercer, perhaps we should talk." I stared at the screen, my expression hardening. Talk about what? They had already humiliated me. There was no fixing this. I replied with only 2 words. "No deal." Another message appeared. "Ha ha. Just like Mr. Mercer. Always so calm. But aren't you curious what the woman sleeping beside you has really been doing all these years?" I studied the message for a long time before finally answering. "Fine. When and where?" He sent the details almost immediately. 7 tonight. I'll be waiting. I'm sure you'll find what I have to say very interesting. The location was Hampton's Country Club. I knew it well. It was an exclusive place with prices far beyond what most people could afford. Interesting. Adrian Hollowell clearly had plenty of stories to tell. A cold smile crossed my face. If they wanted to play games, I was ready to play along. At exactly 7 that evening, I arrived at the club. The moment I entered, a waiter escorted me to a private VIP room. When I opened the door, Adrian was already waiting. He wore the same careless expression as before. As I stepped inside, he poured a drink and slid it toward me. "Mr. Mercer, please." I sat down, but left the glass untouched. "Get to the point." He chuckled. "Why the rush, Mr. Mercer? Though I suppose I'd be angry too if my wife cheated on me." I narrowed my eyes. "Did you invite me here just to gloat?" No. He waved dismissively. "I wanted to give you a warning." "About what?" He pulled an envelope from his bag and placed it on the table. "There are some interesting pictures inside. Want to see them?" I didn't move. I only stared at him. Adrian opened the envelope himself and laid several photographs in front of me. "This one was taken last September. Sienna with a fashion designer. This one is from January. She's with a real estate developer." My fist tightened. The pictures showed Sienna laughing and talking with several men. Nothing openly sexual was happening, but their closeness and flirtation were obvious. "Well?" Adrian asked with a smirk. "What do you think?" He leaned back comfortably. "Sienna isn't the only woman I've conquered. She's simply more interesting because she happens to be your wife." I forced myself to control my anger. "What exactly are you trying to say?" "Nothing complicated." He shrugged. "I'm just telling you the truth. Your wife is no innocent woman. She spent years pretending to be loyal while doing all this behind your back." My fist smashed into his face. Adrian fell backward and hit the floor. "You hit me?" he shouted, scrambling up while holding his cheek. "Do you even know who I am?" I stared at him coldly. "You're a parasite who manipulates women to get ahead." He wiped blood from the corner of his mouth, then started laughing. "So what?" "I still get what I want." He stepped closer. "Do you know why Sienna chose me? I give her the excitement she needs. You think she loves you? She only stayed for your money and position?" I punched him again, without saying a word. This time, blood immediately poured from his nose. "You're finished," he roared, covering his face. "I'll tell everyone the great CEO of Mercer Group is just a pathetic fool whose wife cheated on him." I calmly straightened my clothes and looked down at him. "Go ahead. But before you do, you should check your bank accounts." He froze. "What are you talking about?" I took out my phone and showed him a message. "Your personal accounts are frozen. Every overseas investment you owned has been liquidated. And all those photos you used to blackmail women are gone." His face turned white. "How did you do that?" I sneered. "How? Did you honestly think I'd meet you without investigating you first?" I stepped closer. "I know about every filthy scheme you've run. Threats, extortion, coercion, and blackmail. Did you believe none of it would ever catch up with you?" Panic appeared in his eyes. "You can't do this. That money belongs to me." "Yours," I scoffed. "You mean the money you stole through threats and extortion?" I slipped my phone back into my pocket. "The police have all the evidence now. You should start preparing for the consequences." I turned and headed toward the door. "Stop," he yelled behind me. "You think doing this will bring your wife back? She stopped being the innocent woman you imagined years ago." I paused, but didn't face him. "I'm not trying to get anyone back. I only want you to pay for what you've done." I left the club and stepped into the cool night air. Then I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. "Is everything ready?" "Yes, Mr. Mercer. he answered.
Everything is prepared, but Sienna didn't come in to sign today. I gave a bitter laugh. I expected that. After ending the call, I leaned against my car and lit a cigarette. The cold, late autumn wind moved around me. Then my phone suddenly buzzed. A message from Sienna appeared. Honey, I went to the hospital for a checkup. I really am pregnant with our baby.
Please believe me. I swear nothing happened between Adrian and me. I stared at the screen with a cold smile. She was still lying. Maren had watched her all day. Sienna hadn't gone anywhere near a hospital. Before I could put my phone away, another message arrived. Remember 3 years ago when we went to the beach and you promised me the most romantic proposal? I crushed out my cigarette as more messages filled the screen. You said you'd always treat me well. You promised I'd be the only woman you ever loved. Honey, I know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance. Each message felt like a blade turning inside my chest. Yes, I had promised to love her forever. I opened my photo gallery and scrolled back to pictures from 3 years earlier. In one of them, Sienna ran along the beach in a long white dress, smiling brighter than the sun. Back then, I never imagined we would end up here. My phone chimed again. I'm waiting outside our door. I know you'll come home. She attached a photo of herself crouched beside the front entrance. The autumn wind was strong, yet she wore only a thin white dress. I scoffed and drove straight back to the office. I couldn't go home anyway. After another sleepless night, I entered my office the next morning and noticed an insulated lunchbox on the coffee table. What's that? I asked Maren. Editor-in-Chief Whitlock brought it early this morning, Maren replied awkwardly. She said it's your favorite honey-glazed ribs. I stared at the box and almost laughed. Yes, honey-glazed ribs had always been my favorite. But now even that small show of affection meant nothing. Throw it away. Yes, sir. Maren picked it up and headed for the door. Before she reached it, the door flew open and Sienna rushed inside. Honey, I looked up. Her eyes were swollen and red, and her face was pale. She clearly hadn't slept all night. Get out. Don't throw that away. She lunged forward and grabbed the lunchbox from Maren. I stayed up all night making this. I know you haven't been eating properly lately, I sneered. So now you care about me? Sienna, your hypocrisy is unbelievable. No. Tears filled her eyes. I've always loved you. That never changed. You love me. I stood slowly, making every word clear. When you were lying in Adrian Hollowell's arms, did you remember that love? I was wrong. She threw herself at me and wrapped her arms around my waist. I know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance. I shoved her away.
A chance? Do you honestly deserve one? I do. I swear I do. She dropped to her knees. I'll give up everything. My job, my career, all of it. I only want to stay with you. I stared down at her. Then tell me exactly how many times you slept with Adrian Hollowell. Never. She shook her head desperately. I swear I never slept with him. I pulled a medical report from my drawer and tossed it at her feet. This is Adrian Hollowell's hospital record. 3 months ago, he had a full physical exam. Do you know what the doctors found? She went still. Syphilis, I said coldly. Early stage. Her face lost its color. And you visited a hospital for tests 8 weeks ago, didn't you? She looked terrified. How did you know? I stared down at her. Are you finally done lying? Her body began trembling as she collapsed onto the floor. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. So you admit it. I crouched in front of her and looked straight into her eyes. When was the first time? Where did it happen? Please don't ask. She covered her face and sobbed. Why not? I grabbed her wrist.
Are you too ashamed? Or did it happen so often you can't remember? No. She struggled against my grip. Only once. It happened just once. My fingers tightened. So Adrian threatened to expose Metropolitan Media Group's secrets, and you obediently gave yourself to him. You're hurting me, she whimpered. I released her wrist and stood. Sienna Whitlock, you disgust me. She remained sprawled on the floor, crying loudly. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I didn't choose it. He threatened me. Enough! I kicked the coffee table over. You think I didn't know about the pictures and videos he kept? You posed for them willingly. I've seen footage of you two in bed. Her head snapped up. You know everything?
Yes, I know everything, I sneered. Why else would I investigate his medical history? I looked at her with disgust. Sienna Whitlock, you're quite an actress. For 8 years, you played the innocent wife beside me. I never knew how wild you were behind closed doors. She completely fell apart. Stop. Please stop talking. Why should I? I stepped closer. You looked like you were having a great time. You were moaning pretty loudly in those videos. Smack. She suddenly slapped herself across the face. A bright red mark immediately appeared on her cheek. What good will that do? I asked coldly. Do you think hurting yourself will make me feel sorry for you? She looked up, tears running down her face. Honey, I know I was wrong. I'll do anything. Please forgive me. I crouched and grabbed her chin. Anything? She nodded, a spark of hope appearing in her eyes. I leaned near her ear and whispered, Then go die. Her whole body shook as she stared at me in disbelief. Go die, I repeated, standing. That's the only thing you can do now. But first, I'll make your life a living hell. I walked toward the door. Marin, throw her out. If she comes back, call security immediately. Sienna's desperate cries followed me. Honey, please! I know I was wrong. I kept walking without looking back. Over the next week, rumors spread throughout the company. Adrian Hollowell had been arrested on several fraud and extortion charges. At the same time, explicit videos of him with multiple women appeared online. They revealed how he used threats and carefully planned traps to coerce women into sleeping with him, then secretly recorded them for blackmail. Sienna wasn't shown in any of the released footage. I knew she waited outside our company building every day, but I passed her without acknowledging her. Then one afternoon, Marin came into my office. Mr. Mercer, Miss Whitlock has been hospitalized. I didn't even lift my head. Why should I care? She said she had a miscarriage. The pen in my hand stopped moving. She was actually pregnant? Yes. Marin handed me a medical report. 8 weeks. The doctors believe it happened because she's been under extreme emotional stress and hasn't rested properly. I stared at the report, then suddenly laughed. So she finally got what she wanted. What do you mean? Marin asked. She wanted my child, didn't she? Now she'll never have it. I threw the report into the trash. Inform everyone that effective immediately, we are ending all business with Metropolitan Media Group. Marin hesitated. But Mr. Mercer, that could bankrupt them. I sneered. Perfect. Let her learn what losing everything feels like. It didn't take long for Sienna's company to fall into a financial crisis. Advertisers withdrew one after another, and employees began resigning in large numbers. Around the same time, Adrian's videos exploded across the internet. Even though Sienna wasn't shown in them, reporters quickly uncovered her connection to him. Headlines such as, Metropolitan Media Group, Editor-in-Chief caught in scandalous affair, and socialite wife betrays powerful husband appeared everywhere. Within days, Sienna's career and reputation were completely ruined.
One evening, while I was working late, the hospital called. "Is this Mr. Colin Mercer? Your wife has harmed herself." The coffee cup slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. When I reached the hospital, a doctor met me outside her room.
The patient took a large amount of sleeping medication. Fortunately, someone found her quickly. Her life is no longer in danger. I stood in the hallway and looked through the glass. Sienna lay motionless in the bed. She had lost a lot of weight, and her face was as pale as paper. Bandages covered both wrists, probably from where she had hurt herself.
"Mr. Mercer, the patient needs someone to care for her," the doctor began. I turned and walked away. "Hire a nurse. Charge it to me." Back in my car, I lit a cigarette. My phone rang several times. Every call came from Camille Whitlock, but I ignored them all. Then a message arrived. "Colin Mercer, how can you be this heartless?
Sienna lost everything because of you, and now she doesn't even want to live. Don't you feel any sympathy for her?" I looked at the screen and laughed bitterly. Sympathy? My heart had died the moment I learned Sienna betrayed me. The next day, my lawyer delivered the divorce papers to her hospital room. This time she signed them without resisting. A month later, I stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows in my office, staring at the city lights. A report rested on my desk. Adrian Hollowell had received an 8-year prison sentence for multiple crimes. As for Sienna, I heard she moved to another city after our divorce. Metropolitan Media Group had gone bankrupt, and all her savings went toward employee wages and contract penalties. "Mr. Mercer, today's newspaper." Marin entered and placed it on my desk. The front page showed Adrian being escorted to prison. In the corner of the picture, I noticed a familiar figure. It was Sienna. She stood outside the prison in a black trench coat. The image was blurry, but I could still see how much weight she had lost. Just then my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. I answered, and a voice I knew immediately came through. "Honey?" "No, Mr. Colin Mercer." It was Sienna Whitlock. I said nothing. "I went to see him," she continued, her voice hoarse. "I needed to watch him enter prison with my own eyes." I remained silent. "You know, I finally understand something." She gave a weak laugh, but I could hear the tears behind it. "The worst mistake of my life was betraying you." "Are you finished?" I asked coldly. "Yes." She paused. "I promise this will be the last time I bother you. I'm going far away, somewhere no one knows me." My hand tightened slightly around the phone. "What are you trying to tell me?" "I just wanted to say I'm sorry." Her voice grew quieter. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Then the call ended. I stood beside the window and stared at the lights below. For some reason, I remembered the first time we met. Sienna had been innocent and full of life, with a kind of youthful energy that drew everyone toward her. We once promised to spend our lives together and experience everything beautiful the world had to offer. Now none of that remained. I opened my phone and deleted her number, messages, and every photo of us. After that day, I heard nothing more about her. Years later, one morning, a headline in the newspaper caught my attention. "Renowned photographer Adrian Hollowell, murdered after release from prison. Former lover, identified as killer suspect, dies at scene after taking poison." The attached photograph showed Sienna's body. She wore the same white dress she had worn when we first met. Only this time, she would never wake up. I lowered the newspaper and walked toward the window. A soft rain fell outside, covering the city in a dull, gray haze. "Mr. Mercer, would you like an umbrella?" Marin asked. I shook my head and stepped into the rain. I let the cold drops strike my face.
as though they could wash away the last traces of pain inside me.